Hello and welcome to GC360, your source for the latest news and stories from the heart of our community and beyond. I'm Hubbard and we have a packed show for you today.
And I'm Sofia Fontanillas. Whether you're a student, a faculty member, or just someone interested in what's happening in our community, GC360 is here to keep you informed and engaged. Coming up, Donald Trump implemented heavy tariff tax on neighboring nations Mexico and Canada, and other countries as well. How will this impact consumers?
Georgia College has several different places to live on and off campus, but what is the difference? Is there a preferred option by students?
And what is behind the rising cost of housing? A reporter is in the studio to explain. This is GC360 News, where news comes full circle. Welcome to GC360. After President Donald Trump implemented tariffs on Canada, Mexico, and China, they have retaliated with lawsuits and more tariffs. But how will this affect American consumers? Teresa Owen has more.
President Trump's tariffs on Mexico, China, and Canada went into effect on February 1st. Many are worried that these tariffs will cause inflation to worsen. Chair of the Department of Economics and Finance, Dr. J.J. Arias, discusses this possibility.
It's possible if it's just kind of a one-time thing. So let's say we impose a tariff on steel and aluminum, and then that's it. It would cause prices to rise, but it wouldn't be what we typically think of inflation, because that increase in prices would be kind of a one-time thing. Now, if we did have like a trade war and we just kept having more and more tariffs, or we kept increasing the tariffs, then yes, it would be similar to inflation, where the price level is just rising in almost a continuous fashion.
At this time, Mexico and Canada have both imposed retaliatory tariffs, and China is planning to file a lawsuit with the World Trade Organization against the United States. Dr. Arias shares his thoughts on the political consequences of President Trump's tariffs.
It's obviously, we live in a dangerous world, a volatile world in terms of geopolitics. So I think having good relations with our allies is especially important. So it would have a negative consequence, I guess, in just kind of souring our relationships with allies, which in a larger context wouldn't be a good thing. As far as countries that aren't our allies, again, it might be helpful to have a third party come in, like the World Trade Organization, just to kind of look at the overall level of tariffs and see if there's some way that there could be a de-escalation of so there is no trade war.
While the full scope of potential benefits and consequences of these tariffs are still uncertain, GC360 will be sure to keep you up to date on the latest. Reporting for GC360, I'm Teresa Owen.
A bill introduced to the House of Representatives and sponsored by Republican Representative Claudia Tenney could make Donald Trump's birthday a national holiday. This would be the first federal holiday in honor of a president's birthday, as George Washington's birthday was honored in 1879 and is now known as President's Day. In an ex-post, Representative Tenney said, President Trump's birthday should also be celebrated to recognize him as the founder of America's Golden Age. The bill was referred to the House committee on February 14th, so only time will tell whether it will be approved or not.
Between college homes, dorms, and off-campus apartments, there's a variety of living options to choose from. Which one is the best, according to students? Talia Hayes spoke with some of them to get the full story.
The transition from home to college life brings many changes, and where students choose to live plays a crucial role in shaping their university experience. Exploring the differences between living on campus and off campus at Georgia College can be challenging for students. We asked first-year student Samantha Oakley how she likes living in the dorms.
As I'm a freshman, I knew coming in that I would have to live on campus because that's a requirement for Georgia College. But I chose to live on main campus because of everybody around me and just like having more of a community aspect, and also like the price difference is a factor.
Samantha enjoys the close-knit community and ease of access to campus resources, but living on campus is not without its challenges.
I'd say the downsides are probably not having your own space all the time and having to be around a whole bunch of people all the time. But honestly, it's taught me a lot about how to talk to people and with social skills, so it's just been more of a eye-opener, especially as an adult.
For those who choose to move off campus, like Grace Gilmartin, the experience offers valuable life lessons.
I've learned more financial responsibility, I'd say, and understanding how to live with 5 other grown adults, and that we're all used to we all grew up differently, and we're all used to different environments and different routines and schedules, so it's more of being more respectful towards other people and their lifestyle and trying your best to understand that you're gonna mesh differently.
However, off-campus living can create a disconnect from campus life.
Whenever you're on campus, you don't have to schedule it as much, and it's more like you're in the environment. You're in the center of the environment that people rave about, which is college. When you're living off campus, you're not in the center of that environment anymore, and you need to learn how to be responsible for your own, outings.
Despite the challenges, Grace finds that living off campus helps create a better work-life balance.
Despite the parking issue, I really love living off campus for multiple reasons. One, it gives me the chance to separate my home life from my work and academic life, and that's very important to me. It just kind of gives you more an insight into what being an actual adult is like, which I don't think any of us have really felt yet.
So what is the best choice? That depends on what you value most: convenience and community, or independence and privacy. Whether it's the all-inclusive nature of on-campus living or the autonomy found off-campus, your decision will shape your college experience. Reporting for GC360, I'm Talia Hayes.
Gen Z is slowly joining the workforce, but also makes up only 3% of homebuyers. They are also entering home ownership with the lowest income while being more likely to buy older homes.
That's correct, Caroline. According to the National Association of Realtors, the average age of first-time homebuyers in 2024 hit a record high of 38 years old, which is a staggering difference compared to the 1981 average age of 29 years old. High interest rates, home shortages, and inflation have all played a role. Younger people are concerned and doubting if they'll be able to even afford a home.
In 1950, you could work a cashier's job and be able to feed a family and buy a house with only 1 year's salary. Nowadays, it'll take almost a decade to fill up the finances that it would cost to even put a down payment on a house. I just don't see housing being a viable option, or owning a house being a viable option within the next 3 or 4 decades.
According to the National Association of Home Builders, the rising cost of materials is a major factor in the housing crisis, fueled by inflation and further limiting options for home buyers. Chair of the Department of Management, Dr. Scott Manley, spoke on the matter.
In terms of how much a house costs per square foot, when we bought in Texas, we paid about $110 a square foot, and that was 2015. But today, to buy a house in Milledgeville, not on the lake, we paid over $200 per square foot. So, and it's driven by the cost of building materials and just appreciation in the market. Another problem that is huge that President Trump is going to have to address is the cost of mortgages.
Dr. Manley also stated that as affordability goes down, wages will have to come up in order for home ownership to become more accessible again. But what about rent? According to the U.S. Census Bureau, the median housing income in 2023 was under $75,000, while the average rental for a 3-bedroom neared $2,000. According to Zillow, this is a 2.5% lower than national average. As of right now, the Trump administration might be tasked with improving the housing market in the coming years. I'm Andrew Brown. Back to you.
Let's take a look at the weather for the upcoming week with Simran Puri.
Good afternoon, Bobcats, and welcome to today's weather report. We hope you're staying warm in this windy weather and bundle up as we get into the evening. This week we'll have very cold weather and chances of rain, so now is the time to keep an umbrella handy. Tomorrow we'll continue the partly cloudy weather in the morning with a high of 47 and a low of 27. Saturday will keep the skies sunny with a high of 54 and a low of 29. If you're in the tent city spirit, dress warm and enjoy the radiant sun. Sunday will bring back the clouds throughout the day and some slightly warmer weather, but not by much, with a high of 58 and a low of 33. I'll be using this time to grab a warm peppermint tea. We start next week with sunny skies with a high of 64 and a low of 38. On Tuesday, the sun will continue to shine with a high of 71 and a low of 40. This is the perfect weather to get a stroll in and look back on homecoming week. On Wednesday, the sun will be covered with some clouds with a high of 72 and a low of 47. Finally, Thursday will bring partly cloudy skies and scattered showers with a high of 72 and a low of 40. I plan to keep my hood up in case of rain during the day. That's it for Weather Bobcats. Have a great week, and we hope you have a fantastic weekend.
Thanks, Erin. Coming up after the break. Social media has become a key resource for news for all generations, but what risks come with social media for news?
And what are students using AI for? And what do professors think of its use in the classroom?
And college students, have you thought of your health impacts of too much caffeine? All these questions answered here on GC360. See you after the break.
I'm Eric Griffiths. I am the interim chair of the Department of Theater and Dance. Our general mission, of course, is teaching theater artists, actors, designers, technicians. Of course, students will specialize in certain areas, but they will know if an actor leaves here and that is their goal is to perform, they will also know how to hang a light. They will know how to sew a button on a costume. They have these other skills. So we offer kind of a mix of the soft skills and the hard skills for doing the work. Our goal is to create a well-rounded theater artist that knows a little bit about everything that goes into producing theater.
Welcome back. Do you get your news from Facebook? If so, you're not the only one. Pew Research shows that 54% of Americans get their news from social media. How can you know information is reliable? Whitney Welch has the answers.
Social media plays a significant role in today's modern politics. While it helps people connect and share ideas, it also introduces challenges like misinformation. Sociology professor Dr. Viscara speaks on the positive and negative aspects that social media has in politics.
And I think that social media can be helpful. Like, it can get people informed about issues they might not know about. It can get them to go out and vote and be more active. But it can also have what we call dysfunctions in sociology. So things that aren't necessarily good for society, where it makes people more polarized. People are kind of engaged in a little more bullying, I think, online than they do in person, where if you don't have to look at the person and disagree with them, you can kind of say whatever and be a little bit more mean than you probably would face to face. And we're not having that dialogue back and forth either. So I think there are positives and, negatives to it.
Sophomore Ari Johns shares her opinions on which platform she uses to find non-biased political information.
When I want to know what's happening in politics, generally I will turn toward TV news channels. I feel as if though those tend to be a bit less biased.
Johns advises other students to not rely on social media for trustworthy news.
To find trustworthy political information without relying on social media, generally I would recommend using national news websites or anything with a .org, .edu, because they tend to be less biased.
While social media can be a powerful tool in politics, its drawbacks like misinformation cannot be ignored. Reporting from GC360, I'm Whitney Welch.
It's no surprise that students have been using AI in and outside the classroom. What are professors' opinions about the rise of artificial intelligence, especially in schoolwork? Simran Puri is here to tell us.
Georgia College students have been using artificial intelligence more around campus. According to Campus Technology, 86% of students have been using AI in their schoolwork. Dr. Nathan Besdel, a rhetoric professor at Georgia College, is here to say his thoughts on the usage of AI for public speaking.
What artificial intelligence cannot do for the public speaker is respond to the room they are actually in, to respond to the people that actually make up the audience. That right now cannot be replicated by a large language model, ChatGPT, artificial intelligence. The ability to kind of read the room or feel the atmosphere in the room, to kind of tap into the kairos of the moment, the opportune moment, that's something that ChatGPT can't help students with.
On the contrary, nursing student Finn Goss thinks artificial intelligence can be very useful for the future.
I think ChatGPT can be pretty useful in some scenarios, but honestly I don't use it too much. So I think in the future it could definitely be very useful for me as a nursing major. I think as ChatGPT continues to grow and there's going to be more experimentation and things learned about it, I think it could definitely be used in the future to help diagnose people, because I mean the brain, it's very vast and it knows a lot of stuff, and we can train it to learn a lot, but there's just some stuff that we just don't know off the top of our heads right away. So being able to I think enter that into the nursing field or into the medical field could be very helpful in the future.
Many other students on campus tend to use AI to jumpstart ideas for essays, projects, and discussion posts. Students Drew Elliott and Camden Wilson share their thoughts on how they utilize AI in the classroom.
If I do use it, it's for stuff that's not really school related. I use it at least twice a week for math, because it shows me all the steps I need to take. But other than that, not really.
While AI is frowned upon by some professors in the classroom, students tend to use it for other purposes outside of the classroom. Reporting for GC360, I'm Simran Puri.
According to the National Health Institute, energy drinks are the second most common dietary supplement used by young people. What toll do these energy drinks take on health? Margot Peters has the answer.
Caffeine can be found all over college campuses. As classes, assignments, and exams build up, sleep gets pushed aside, making a quick fix their go-to solution. But what are the consequences? Student Tyler Williamson had something to say about this.
Heart disease and caffeine addiction are probably the biggest two. Caffeine addiction can lead to horrible sleep schedules because you can be up all night because you're addicted to the caffeine, so you need to drink more, which then keeps you up over long periods of time.
With caffeine becoming a daily habit for many students, the choice of how to get that boost varies. Some stick to coffee, but others turn to energy drinks, often seeing them as quicker, stronger solutions. Student Claire Riley shared her thoughts.
Some reasons college students might prefer energy drinks over coffee despite the effects being similar could just because energy drinks are marketed as being cool and they're very trendy right now, and they're also a lot cheaper than just getting a latte or something from Starbucks. So I think that's a big reason, and energy drinks come in a multitude of different flavors, so I think that is also a bit of a bigger reason as to why they are more consumed despite them having the same exact effects.
For some students, it's not just about choosing between coffee or energy drinks. It's both. Whether it's starting the day with coffee and drinking an energy drink later, or even having both back to back, some students are loading up on caffeine just to keep going.
I only do it on very special days when I'm having lunch or coffee with a friend and I still have work that night and need another energy drink because coffee doesn't have enough caffeine for me. I just know it will ruin my sleep schedule for that night, and I'll usually be going to bed around 2, 3, 4 in the morning.
In the end, whether it's coffee, energy drinks, or something else, students will always look for ways to stay awake. But sometimes the best way to feel more alert isn't another caffeinated drink, but rather getting enough sleep. Reporting for GC360, I'm Margot Peters.
With all that caffeine talk, I'm craving an espresso. We're turning to entertainment news with Courtney Tabachi. Courtney?
Thanks, Caroline. SNL celebrated their 50th anniversary, where many celebrity guests made an appearance. Eddie Murphy, Will Ferrell, Meryl Streep, and Paul McCartney were some of them. However, 3 special ones stole the show. Sabrina Carpenter and Pedro Pascal sang an off-key version of the hit song Espresso. Everyone is talking about how Pedro Pascal was off-tempo, but I noticed how Sabrina had a hard time trying to sing badly. Puerto Rican singer Bad Bunny joined later to close the skit. In other Sabrina news, on Valentine's Day, she released the deluxe version of her album Short and Sweet. Contrary to the name of the album, a new music video showed to be not so sweet. Please, Please, Please featuring Dolly Parton takes place in a car where they have a man who portrays Sabrina's ex-boyfriend tied up in their trunk. This rendition has broken the internet with this unexpected duo. And if you wanted to hear more about Dolly, you're in luck. There's a new Broadway musical about to hit the stage, and it's all about Parton's life. But who's going to play her? Actresses of all ages are singing Dolly's classics in hopes of being discovered to play the iconic country legend. The finalist for the role has recently been announced, including TikTok fan favorites. The country world is waiting to see who is next in line to wear the wig. That is all I have for entertainment this week. Have a Bob-tastic week. Back to you.
Thanks, Courtney. Coming up after the break, sports are taking over. Intramurals are back again at GCSU. Which ones are competing this semester?
And we'll take a look at how our athletes balance school and sports.
Super Bowl 59 concluded with the Philadelphia Eagles as champions. But who won Commercial of the Year? All this and more on GC360, where news comes full circle.
Thank you for staying with us. It's all about sports here at GC360. Hunter Ellis is here to tell us the latest. Take it away.
Thanks, Caroline. The NBA hosted their 74th edition of the NBA All-Star Game. Hawks fans might have seen a familiar face out there, as Trae Young was selected for his fourth All-Star Game of his career. He was selected as Giannis Antetokounmpo's replacement after he suffered the injury before the game. Meanwhile, the Hawks are hoping to turn around their misfortunes as the All-Star break comes to an end. Before that, they were on a 3-game winning streak before it was snapped by the New York Knicks in an overtime loss. The Hawks are hoping to bounce back today against the Magic. Turning to Bobcat sports. Bobcat baseball's Bradley Wilson won the Peach Belt Pitcher of the Week after a 7th-inning shutout against Lynn University. Wilson allowed only 2 hits and 2 walks while getting 6 strikeouts. He currently leads the team in strikeouts and his 2nd innings pitched. Congrats, Bradley. Meanwhile, the GCSU men and women's team both were able to pick up wins the past weekend. The women's team was able to triumph Converse 6-1, while the men's team was able to beat Converse to remain undefeated. This is all I have in sports this week. Back to you.
Many students at GCSU participate in intramurals as a way to stay active, meet people, and compete in friendly competition. But what goes into putting together these teams? Annie Mitchell took us to the Wellness Center to find out.
Georgia College and State University Intramurals is one of the most widely participated programs on campus. With over 90 intramural leagues and over 20 different sports, there's something for everyone.
So from my last semester of freshman year to my first semester of sophomore year, so for about a year I was intramural chair for my sorority. So it is different if you're in a sorority. Basically what I would do is I would send out a poll on Facebook and see who's interested in what sports that they offered at the time. And based on that, I would put those girls into teams and we would make a group meet and basically just send out game times and let them know. Personally, I played basketball and softball in high school, so those are probably my go-tos. I definitely will be playing those until I graduate.
In order to play intramurals at GCSU, participants must purchase a player pass. For only $15 per semester, participants have unlimited access to join and create teams for all intramural sports offered at GCSU. This goes for being on an intramural, sorority, or co-ed team. On top of being able to participate in intramurals, the GCSU Wellness and Rec Center have a number of employment opportunities when it comes to intramurals, including scorekeepers, officials, office workers, and supervisors.
The thing I enjoyed the most was obviously coming out of high school, being so into sports, and then being able to also have that in college and also have the competitiveness in college was really fun. But also just meeting everybody through intramurals, I feel like you meet so many people that you probably wouldn't have if you weren't on a team. And so especially co-ed, you get to meet people in other organizations and things like that. So that was the best part.
Visit the intramural website to learn more about what there is to offer and to become a part of a team this year. Reporting for GC360, I'm Annie Mitchell.
What goes into being a student athlete? Dinah Welch went to the soccer and softball fields to find out.
Student athletes face a challenge of balancing school sports, and travel. From early morning practices to late night study sessions, student athletes work hard to stay on top of their studies with determination and discipline. I sat down with soccer player Emily Agee to talk about what a typical day looks like for her as a student athlete.
My typical day, especially if we're in season, I'm probably up around about 5:30 in the morning. We have to be at the fields by 6:30 in the morning for a 7 a.m. practice. Depending on the day, we will go from practice, which is about like an hour and a half, to weights. And then after weights, I have 2 to 3 classes. And then I'll come home. I also work as a tour guide, so I also go to work. And then I'll have some other obligations for organizations, and then I'll probably finish my day with Bible study.
Being a student athlete isn't just about excelling in sports. It's about managing time and staying disciplined in all parts of life. I spoke with junior softball player Maddie Todd about time management tips for other student athletes.
My tips would be to do your schoolwork as soon as possible. Like as soon as it gets assigned, you can do it whenever you can, because then you don't know if you're going to be able to do it later on. And then I like to do it on the bus typically, because we travel a lot and it's a pretty long road trip, so that gives you a lot of time to do it.
Between practices, games, and schoolwork, these students have to find ways to stay on top of everything while also maintaining their physical and mental health.
I balance my time with a lot of planners. I have so many different planners. I have a desk planner in my room that breaks everything down day by day for the month. I have a planner in the kitchen that breaks down my roommate's schedule versus mine. And then I also have my typical day-to-day planner where I have everything broken down almost by the hour.
Whether it's planning ahead or simply pushing through to get the work done, student athletes show that with the right mindset, they can excel in their sports and academics. Reporting for GC360, I'm Dinah Welch.
Super Bowl commercials have stolen the show for non-football fans. Which ones were the most memorable? Karis Philo spoke with marketing students for more.
Various students from different majors discussed the Super Bowl. The average cost of a 30-second Super Bowl commercial in 2025 is nearly $8 million.
I feel like a lot of people who don't really watch football watch the Super Bowl.
I think especially during the Super Bowl, they're trying to attract new customers because there's such a wide audience, so they can reach new people.
I think the Super Bowl has one of the highest watch rates or whatever, so I think it's a really good way of getting your company out there.
Students Charlotte Halley and Anna Robbie Wilcox share the reasons that they watched the Super Bowl.
I don't really care about sports, so I wasn't really rooting for anybody, but I just chose to watch it because it was something to do with my friends.
I was rooting for the Eagles.
Over 30 commercials in the Super Bowl featured celebrity cameos. Students described the success of various commercials.
I feel like almost every commercial had a celebrity.
I think definitely brands rely too much on celebrity culture because every other ad is like a cameo, and sometimes it's a little exhausting.
Celebrity endorsements are a driving force within Super Bowl commercials. Students share their favorite Super Bowl commercial featuring a celebrity.
My favorite was the Poppy commercial with Alex Earl and Jake Shane.
The Alex Earl Carl's Jr. one because I'm an Alex Earl fan.
I'm Karis Philo reporting for GC360. That's all for GC360 this week, Bobcats. Thank you for joining us today. And make sure you tune in next Thursday at 4 p.m. on NBC TV4 through the Cablecast app. I'm Sofia Fontanillas.
And I'm Caroline Hubbard. When we're not on the air, we keep you up to date on our social media. That's at GC360 News on Instagram and YouTube and at bobcatmultimedia.com/GC360. Always available to you where news comes full circle. See you next week.